This is the Gambling Gauchos.
I'm telling y'all right now, the country's gonna find out. Everything runs through Lubbock. Everything runs through Lubbock. Somebody turn on some damn music!
You're listening to the Gambling Gauchos. Talking Texas Tech, betting on the Big 12 and beyond. We've got everything you need, money lines, memes, and matadors.
Well,
You want to quit, Ethan?
that'll be the day.
Now, here's Kyle Jacobson and Rob Bro, the Moneyline Matadors, the Casino Cowboys, the Parlay Picadors.
You see, in this world, there's two kinds of people, my friend. Those with loaded guns, and those who dig. You dig. Win.
The Gambling Gauchos. Oh, and one more thing. It's all West Texas. It always has been.
Welcome into the Gambling Gauchos. I am Rob Bro. He's Kyle Jacobson. A wonderful, wonderful day. The sun is brighter. The air is crisper. The wind is smoother after a Texas Tech victory, Kyle. Don't you agree?
Beer is colder. Grass is greener.
All of the above. Reds are redder. Texas Tech hammered West Virginia. And, look, you and I both, I think, wanted to be even more aggressive on the podcast before the game. We certainly talked off air that we thought this could happen. But I'll be quite honest and say the 48 was much more believable to me than the 10 pregame. I mean, I picked Texas Tech to score 42. So I'm not surprised by the offensive output on West Virginia. I think West Virginia is the worst pass defense in the Big 12.
Easily.
And I said before that I thought that.
And I was confident in the over. You did your part,
Yes.
but you not only took 3, you took 4. And if not for that, I do think West Virginia would have been a lot more successful because they were moving the ball, and a lot of those turnovers were near midfield
Yes.
or even going into the end zone. So, yeah, had you only had 2 of those, maybe, or God forbid none of them, maybe West Virginia does score a lot more points, the overhits, and it's a more competitive game. But, yeah, great performance all around. You can't complain about beating a Power 5 opponent by 38.
No, you can't complain. You certainly can't complain. I do want to mention one thing right off the top to Chase. Chase is looking for the backdrops. We're gonna have to redesign my apartment
Yeah.
to get those bad boys in use. But I would say by next Sunday we certainly will have that ready and available.
I think we'll make it work. It's just they're
Got a
great
studio.
and they're
Yeah, that
large.
studio, yeah, 10 feet wide. So.
But we'll figure something out.
Yeah, and I don't think I told you this yet, but I got a lot of plans for those things. I want to somehow source like a podium, start doing some Gauchos press conferences,
Oh, yeah.
maybe do some content there as well.
I'm going to leave one at my house because I want to do more like film breakdown stuff and like record myself
Oh, yeah.
analyzing something. And it'll be cool to have that backdrop instead of just the wall behind
Yeah.
me. And then we'll have one here for our standard episodes.
I do like your guest bedroom that you generally record out of.
Yeah. I think
The
that's where it's going to
floral,
live for now.
Yeah.
And it kind of
like it.
blocks the entrance to the restroom in that bedroom. And so you have to kind
Yeah.
of like peel back the
That's okay.
screen and then.
Yeah.
But yeah. Now, if I had a guest coming over for an extended stay, I'd probably have to disassemble and reassemble, but that's okay.
So there's 2 stands and everything.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
There's 2 stands and then like a 4-rail frame,
Oh, yeah.
which I didn't attach to the bottom. It's just kind of like hanging right now, but you can like tighten it up by.
Chase mentions that I could move into your guest bedroom. Is that something that you might be into?
No.
No?
No.
You didn't even think about that.
I have enough roommates right
Okay.
now.
Yeah, well, you have the 2, yeah.
I have 4 roommates.
Okay. Yeah. Do you like your dogs?
They're okay.
Sometimes.
I love them.
Sometimes. Okay.
I love them, but I don't like them.
I got you. Most times you don't like them. Yeah. When they're calm and, you're like, okay,
Yeah, if they're
this is
asleep,
what we're doing. Yeah.
Love them.
Back to West Virginia. I kind of have a mental list of things I liked and things I didn't like. Because I think even as good as Texas Tech played and the final score, I thought you left a meat on the bone. Left a lot of meat on the bone. And I'll give you 2 straight off. My high of the game is...
Hey, where are we recording from right now?
Oh, we're in the Cardinal Sports Center. Oh, that's why I did the backdrop thing. On the backdrop, you'll be able to firmly see that we're in the Cardinal Sports Center studio. That's what I was trying to go for. Thank you for reminding me. If you want to gear up for the game, you can gear up and get into the spooky season at Cardinals. Have you been lately? Because they put up spider webs everywhere. They're awesome.
Good touch.
So you can walk in, be all spooky like, get your Cardinal Sports Center gear, get your All West Texas shirts. A lot of people telling us they're getting hats. A buddy of mine came into town and just I didn't even know he was in Lubbock. Sent me a picture of a white and a black Gauchos hat, and I was like, "Oh, so you want my hat, but you don't want to, see me." Anyways, he was very excited about the hats, and he tried to hang out, and then we just couldn't get together. But mycardinalsports.com if you want to go there, or you can go in Lubbock, right around 68th and Slide, or in Plano. But we really focus on the Lubbock one.
That's great. Right. Okay, sorry. Go ahead with your
a high and a low. Not to be all Dan Patrick for you. A high from the weekend and a low from the weekend. The high was the consistent offense. There were 2 drives, I think, in the first half you didn't score, and one of them I would have been much more frustrated with if the game had turned after that. But you ended up getting the pick in the end zone, and it didn't matter. But it was the stall out on 4th and 1 when you dropped back. But I would say the consistent offense, obviously when you're scoring 48 and you're moving the ball, that's all good. That's my favorite thing that happened.
Yeah, So I finished the rewatch of the first half, and actually, this is nitpicky. Yeah. So before I say any of this, you won by 38.
Oh, it's all nitpicky today.
And Ben Golan had this stat on how long it's been since you beat a Power 5 opponent by this much, not named Kansas. And I can't remember what it was, but this is uncommon.
2009.
Wow.
That's what he said.
Okay, that's even further back than I. Because even your big wins over the last 5 to 7 years, when you beat Oklahoma State in 2019, it was by 10 points.
Yeah.
Where you're surviving these games by 1 possession. You have not beat anybody wire to wire in so long, it seems.
In fact, the last 3 have basically been, or the last 3 have been West Virginia. Mm-hmm. Because you go back to 2012, West Virginia, and then what was it, 18 or 19, I guess, last time
you played
you were in
games.
Morgantown.
2019, you beat them pretty good.
You beat them pretty good.
Not
that
by
was
this much.
That was the last time you beat a team by more than 10.
Yeah.
We talked about that stat in the preview.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm prefacing this by saying this is nitpicky. It's not a huge concern, but for as well as I thought Baron Morton played overall, and going back to last weekend, he also left some meat on the bone, and he'd probably be the first to tell you that. I think it was the second drive. He missed Tharp on that kind of wheel route. He's open. It's there. He makes the right read. And
overthrew him.
How do you overthrow a 6'9" guy?
Yeah. Just a little bit of touch, man.
Yeah.
And he's wide open.
I think he was kind of falling back, and that can lead to you airmailing it.
Yeah.
And he knows it. And that's a throw he's obviously capable of making. He just didn't in that moment.
He missed a couple of those fitting him over the shoulder kind of throws that were just kind of flat.
He also had
2 of them, and there were 70 throws.
I think on the very first drive, he's trying to hit Jaron Bradley in that kind of hole shot in the cover 2.
Yes.
And doesn't get it there in time, and the safety coming over should have picked it off.
Yeah.
He also had either close to 2 fumbles, his knee was technically down, or a fumble that was recovered by somebody else. And so we can...
Did he have 2, or he had 1 and Shrodrick had 1? You might have had 3 total.
Well, he had one where he was rolled down, but he fumbled, but
Yep.
his knee was down. All that to say, as I was being interrupted, was that he's pretty low on turnovers through 2 starts, but not for lack of trying. Like in a different world, he could have 4 or 5 turnovers by this point, which was the big knock on Donovan. So he's still got to tighten some of that up, even though those didn't show up in the box score. But again, that's all nitpicky. A couple other ones, just moments of inexperience or lack of awareness. When he slides, the play is over where he starts sliding. So there was a 3rd and 10 run where had he dove forward, it's a first down. And you don't want him taking hits, so it's smart to slide.
No.
But he needs to know where the first down line is. And so just, again, nitpicky stuff like that still needs to be cleaned up. And to his credit, on that cover 2 hole shot, he missed it early in the game, but later that touchdown to Xavier White timed up better. He got the ball there before the safety came over, and it's a 55-yard touchdown. So you even see improvement within the game, which is a good sign.
And that was some major yak from Xavier White.
Yeah.
Because that is, watching that one from, the press box, it's like, oh, that's going to be a good gain. And he makes a great cut. And even 2 great cuts. The second one wasn't so much a cut as just a change of direction, kind of vaguely toward the middle. I would say it's hard to call that a cut, but great vision from Xavier White there. And that's got to be his running back background.
Yeah. The one last throw that I'll nitpick on Morton in the first half, and I haven't rewatched the second half, was Jaron Bradley's one-on-one on the post route. And if he throws it flat and like to the opposite sideline, it's a big gain. And instead he throws it over his head, and Bradley kind of gets tackled. The fans want a PI, but it was late. I mean, it was uncatchable. So the ball placement there was not that good either.
Sometimes balls are uncatchable because the receiver got tackled, though.
He got tackled like after the ball hit the ground. I mean, I don't think that play was PI. I didn't think it live, and I didn't think it on the rewatch. Also, this is now, so moving away to the pros, because that's my only gripes, I think, from this game. You, for the first time all season, ran the ball effectively.
Very effectively.
Wasn't sexy 4.5 yard average, but that was enough to get you in 2nd and 6 or convert on 3rd and 5 routinely. Brooks had a couple good runs. Sir Roderick had the long touchdown run. Not long touchdown run, but 3rd and 9, and he goes around the end, breaks a lot of tackles.
Great stiff arm.
And that was the area of West Virginia's defense that we thought much more highly of. We knew the secondary was suspect. We thought, okay, that doesn't really matter, though, because you're not going to try to run it. But even when you did want to run it, you did so pretty effectively.
Yeah. And I was very impressed by the running game. And I mentioned during the game, hey, it's kind of funny what happens when you play an average defense. Your offensive line looks a lot better. I mean, I think we were very hard on the offensive line through the first 5-6 weeks of the season, but I also think we understood the schedule. And we talked about it a lot, that the first half of the schedule is going to be a gauntlet. The first half of the schedule involves, 5 straight ranked teams. And Houston's defense looks a bunch different today, but they lost their stud that set the sack record against us, against Texas Tech. So you're just looking through that kind of stuff and saying, you're not playing King Felix today. You're not playing Trace Ford. You're not playing this athletic Texas defense. You're playing West Virginia.
Yeah.
And you get to play, I think Kansas maybe has the best defensive line that you're going to face the rest of the year.
I need to rewatch. So I saw the first half of Baylor versus Kansas. And since Kansas was playing from behind, I'm sure they probably didn't run it very much in the second half. But I remember during the Baylor-West Virginia game 2 weeks ago, some Baylor fans on Twitter were like, I can't believe West Virginia's trying to run the ball on us. Kind of like a cocky, good luck with that type thing. And I'll have to look at the box score, but West Virginia moved the ball just fine, running it and throwing it against Baylor. So I want to see how Baylor's front held up against Kansas. But
Great in the first half.
I think you might be able to, again, not blow the doors off, but be good enough running the ball to complement your good passing game. And let's face it, you use the pass game, those quick screens right to the sidelines. That's part of your run game, like it or not. And you also did a good job of that versus West Virginia.
Yeah, I thought you had a lot of good ones. A couple to the receivers, a couple to running backs. And I would say Nehemiah Martinez is as close to a running back as you're going to get out there.
Yeah.
Well, so is Xavier White, for that matter.
So just to tie a bow on that point in terms of running the ball, you take out Baron Morton's carries / sacks, And just look at Sir Roderick's handoffs and Taj Brooks's handoffs. They averaged 5.2 yards per carry. Bryson Donnell came in the game. He looked good. He averaged 6 yards per carry, and that was kind of garbage time. I don't know if that was West Virginia's 2s or 3s.
And he's fresh, yeah.
But still, 5 to 6 yards per carry with your running backs, that'll work just fine.
Yeah, and even Sir Roderick, I think he had 3 yards per carry.
Yeah, he was
59 yards, but a couple big ones. And you just keep going back to him. There was one drive where Sir Roderick, I thought, fumbled. They called him down. And then I think that was the last play of the third quarter. And then into the fourth quarter, he ran it like 4 straight times and got all the way down the field. And then the touchdown run he had, where he had, 6 stiff arms, it felt like, that was a great run too. So, and early in the game, Taj Brooks looked great, and then Sir Roderick came in and did not look good. And I turned to the guy beside me, I was like, can you ever get one game where both these guys look good? Because it's always either Taj or Sir Roderick.
But aren't you glad you have them both?
Absolutely. And then, Sir Roderick plays really good the rest of the game, and you're like, well, okay.
Yeah, because
maybe this is the game that you have both of them in, 160, 170 yards combined for just those two?
166.
So there you go.
Like very early in the season, I thought they're number one backs. And then it seemed like it was trending kind of like it was Sir Roderick was the lead back. And now after Saturday, you're like, okay, well, Taj was the better back.
Yeah.
So I like having a two-headed monster. And if one guy is a little bit dinged up or tired or the personnel works better with the other guy, you just switch them. It's really good to have 2 running backs as good as both of them.
How many carries was that per? 17, 15?
They had 32 carries for 166, 5.2 yards per carry.
Yeah. I mean, that's... If you could have 30 carries from those 2 guys every week the rest of the year, I think you're going to be really good.
And without a really long run, Brooks' longest was 20 and Thompson's was 13. And I don't know about you, but I would rather have a back that can get 8 or 12 multiple times a game than a back who can go 50 once but then gets bottled up for 2 or 3 every other time he touches the ball.
Yeah.
Defensively, you ready to pivot to defense?
Yeah. Well, can I go back to my worst of the weekend?
Oh, yeah.
You're talking about getting interrupted, but you kind of took over the segment.
Yeah, I interrupted you while you weren't talking.
So my worst of the weekend, if people remember back to my best of the weekend, it was the consistent offense. My worst of the weekend was missed tackles, man.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of you and I know you took 4 away. And great defensive performance. That's how you win games. And that's how you cover up a bunch of bad plays defensively, is to get turnovers. I mean, 2 came in the end zone, right?
Yeah.
And then you had the one kind of near midfield, which I did not think was an interception. Then he stood up with the ball, and you're like, "What? Wait, what?"
Yeah.
And then you had a great play from Jacob Rodriguez, who I do want to highlight, who peanut punched a ball out, and then Matthews got on it. But what I'd have to go back and rewatch, but I would estimate 20 missed tackles in that game, and some were on multiple on some plays, but 20 plays where you had at least 1 missed tackle.
I was surprised when I looked at the box score because I had the same gripe. I was like, what are we're giving them so many extra yards on these missed tackles. Their 2 lead backs, 19 carries for 66 yards, 3.5 yards per carry.
Yeah.
Hard to ask for any better than that. And JT Daniels, former 5-star prospect, their offense, their efficiency looks really good on paper coming into this game. Under 200 yards, 5.5 yards per drop back. It's like you'll take that all day long.
Isn't that crazy? Because watching it live, I thought they tackled terrible.
Me too.
But you're just looking at the box score, and Texas Tech dominated.
Mm-hmm.
Dominated. And nobody has... I've been very low on West Virginia all year. I think they're the worst team in the Big 12. I know Iowa State is defeated, but I think Iowa State actually has a good defense. And I would rather have a really good defense than a pretty good offense. And I think that's the difference between West Virginia and Iowa State. And I don't want to diminish Texas Tech's victory here, but you're the first team that's really hammered West Virginia. And I know Texas beat them pretty good, so maybe you're the second team. But Pitt struggled. Virginia Tech couldn't beat them. Towson, obviously, is Towson. And then Baylor lost to them. So, I don't know. Maybe West Virginia is a little better than I thought, and you actually had a really good outing. But I came away more impressed with the defense because I guess you could say the offense was +7, my prediction, and then the defense was -18, my prediction.
Yeah, that's where I don't think I was as low on West Virginia as you, and I was reluctant to call them the worst team in the Big 12 after that Baylor win. Because if you zoom out, I think we were still skewed by the Kansas loss because Kansas was Kansas before going 5-0.
Right.
And they still might not be very good. I'm not trying to talk out both sides of my mouth. I think Kansas might be the worst team in the Big 12, but they're far better than they have been in years past. But you zoom out to that, they lose on the road week 1 to Pitt by a touchdown, a game they should have won. They lose in overtime to Jalen Daniels, Kansas, a game that they had an early 14-point lead, 17-point lead, something like that. They beat up on Towson, of course, beat Virginia Tech on the road by 23. Virginia Tech isn't good, but it's a Power 5 road game.
Right.
They lose to Texas by 18. It was probably not even that close. I think they cut the deficit later in the game. Then they beat Baylor at home or by 3 points. So they weren't some team that was getting blown out routinely before they came to Lubbock. And at the very least, they were at least moving the ball against teams that they lost to for the most part. So to hold them to 10 points, to turn them over 4 times, for them to have really no success throwing or running, it's hard to take away from that. But I did have in my notes the same thing, that the missed tackles. And it was just like you weren't trying to wrap up. You're trying to just go in there and, shoulder launch. And I'm not too concerned about that because that doesn't seem like it's a trend or a pattern.
No.
But it's just something they'll see on film and hopefully clean up.
But you even go back to that Texas-West Virginia game, which is their biggest loss previous to this one. And West Virginia scored 13 in the fourth quarter. And Texas really didn't do anything in the fourth quarter. And maybe you say, Texas, the lead was there. It's 35-7. They gave up whatever else you want to say. Tech didn't do that. And if you want to look at a culture win, you can look at Texas. You can look at, Houston. But if you want to look at a brand win, it's this West Virginia game, right? This is what Joey McGuire wants to do the rest of his time in Lubbock. He wants to get turnovers, be aggressive on offense, and win at home. So I think we talked about it being a culture win over Texas because you kind of gutted up when you needed to. But this is the vision of Joey McGuire. This is a brand win for Joey.
I tweeted it. You were this close. People streaming the podcast right now can see how close my fingers are. This close to 50 burger and take 3 in the same game.
Yeah.
And I thought the same thing offensively. For a while there, what was your identity? Even under Cliff, but going back to Tuberville, what was your identity? What was your identity under David Yost? I don't know if we had one. Your identity is pretty clear now. You're going to go faster than anybody in the country, run more plays than anybody in the country, go for it on 4th down more than anybody in the country, and throw the ball more than anybody in the country. And people can have their opinions on, do you need to be more balanced? Is there a time and a place for tempo instead of trying to do it all the time? Fair discussion to be had. But at least you know what you are. And I think part of what you are is a pain in the ass for your opponent. It's kind of like playing the Texas Tech no-middle defense in basketball.
Right.
You know exactly what's coming, but it's still like going to the dentist to get a tooth pulled. When you play this offense, you're like, crap, they're going to go for it on 4th down 12 times. And we have to stop them on 8 of those. And, they're going to go fast. Our starting defense is going to have to play 96 snaps on Saturday. They know that's coming, but it's different, it's unique, and it probably sucks to go against, if I had to guess.
Texas Tech didn't allow points after the 4th and 1 because that ended in an interception, I believe. Right?
What are you talking about?
The 4th and 1 that Texas Tech didn't get.
When Baron Morton got sacked?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That ended in an interception for West Virginia?
Yeah, right before the half.
Okay. So you scored 14 off the 2 drives that you went for it on 4th down, a total of, 5 times? I think. Whatever it is.
Yeah.
You went for it, you converted, you scored touchdowns on 2 drives, you didn't convert and didn't give up any points. So that number we talked about where it was like 25 to 58 went up 14 more points.
And you're talking about on possessions where they've gone for it on 4th down, they've scored 58, and when they haven't gotten it, the opponent has only scored 23.
Right,
or
but now
something
it's
like that.
but now it's 70.
That margin is even bigger.
72 to 20. You're about 50 points better going for it and giving it up.
Yeah, and that's where I think fans shouldn't waste the energy on debating, well, should we have done it that time? Like, you're committed to it at this point.
Yep.
There is gonna be a day where you go 1 for 8 on 4th down, and that day is gonna suck. But you also don't beat Texas without that strategy. You don't house West Virginia without that strategy. And so you're gonna take the good with the bad, and more often than not, it's obviously good. Otherwise they wouldn't be doing it. Like if those numbers we just cited, it was like, well, we scored 31 points on drives where we go for it on 4th down, but we've surrendered 48, then yeah, I would question it all day long. But until that day comes, I mean, it's 2/3 of the time it's working out for you, and so you can't really gripe that much about the 1/3 when it works against you. It is what it is.
Texas Tech is 4th in the conference at 68% conversion rate on 4th down.
Do you have 3rd down in front of you?
Yes, I can get it real quick, but hold on. They're 4th. Oklahoma State is 1st. They've gone for it 3 times and converted 3 times. Kansas State is 2nd. They've gone for it 4 times, gotten it 3 times. Baylor has gone for it 15 and gotten it 11. That's 73%. Texas Tech has gone for it 25. This is conference play. This is just in conference games. 68%, 25 attempts, 17 conversions. And I think a lot of times you look at stats game by game. This is a stat that is a season stat. That's how you get analytics. You don't do analytics from game by game or drive by drive.
Or play by play.
There are season by season by season. You're looking at the last 5 years of metrics to get these decisions. So this is something that is going to play out for the future, but we're starting to see why it's important.
Exactly right. And that's why I say fans shouldn't get down in the weeds on one decision or one call. Because what they're saying is like over the next, or if faced with this decision 100 times, we would go for it 100 and, convert 70 of those. So if you zero in on one of the 30 out of 100 that you don't make it, you're going to drive yourself crazy. But that's not how they're not making these as individual decisions. They're saying in the game today, if it's 4th and 3 or shorter inside the 46-yard line, I'm just making that up, we're going to go for it. The team knows that. They prepare for it all week, and that's the way it's going to be. And you might get stuffed on one of those. You did on Saturday.
Yeah.
But you have to take the collection of like the dozens and dozens of times that you're doing this.
This is not just a Texas Tech thing, but when I watch football, I have a lot of opinions, as you could probably know. There was only 2 or 3 plays this week where I was like, oh, why did they call that? And generally I say that, like when I watch the Cowboys, I say it about 3 plays a drive for Kellen Moore.
Yeah.
I think that guy's a moron. But it's just a difference of opinion, and that guy, makes a bunch of money, and I, don't. So sometimes you just got to say, well, that's the offensive coordinator. And again, you're planning for a drive or a game and not just one play. But there was only 2 or 3, and the only one I can think of off the top of my head right now is that 4th and 1 play.
Yeah,
But-
you didn't have a good play design, but I think that was even
But you
more,
dropped back on 4th and 1. That's why I didn't like it.
it's kind of coincidental more than anything. Like
Yeah.
a different play call might have shredded that 0 blitz.
Yeah. Or you could have run it, and they could have been stuffed just the same.
The play call, though, was the 2 stacked receivers on both sides, and it was just the front receiver was blocking, and then the other guy was set up for a screen, and it was
Yeah.
horrible. You weren't going to get the first down on that play.
No. Well, you have, but you're focused on a missed block
Not
or a
against
missed
that
tackle.
defensive look.
No. Well, and because you didn't.
If now, what would have really shredded that play is if instead of being stacked like that, they were kind of spread out and you just ran a swing pass to the running back.
Yeah.
I don't know if the 7th blitzer would have followed the running back, but if the 7th blitzer was committed, then Sir Roderick or whoever was in the game is probably housing that.
You asked about 3rd downs, 38%, 9th in the Big 12, and I think some of that's by design. Did you listen to Joey McGuire's post game? If you did, he talked about I had to read between the lines a little bit, but one of his direct quotes was, we're talking to the quarterbacks about, the money down and the money yard line that you're trying to get to. You just said it. But I think a lot of times they're also trying to get these guys to figure out, we're not trying to set up fourth down conversions because that's what it looks like a lot of times. They're not trying to set up the fourth down conversion. There's just the opportunity to go for it on fourth down. So I think you're trying to get the quarterbacks to realize, there is potential for a fourth down conversion, but we're not trying to get fourth down conversions. We'd rather get the first down on third down.
Yeah, the only reason I ask about that is because I always combine those two stats.
You do. You love that.
Third down plus fourth down and looking at that percentage to gauge how good a team is. You're obviously not good on third down. If you were punting on fourth downs, you'd be a horrible football team. But you're committed to the bit at this point, and it's working out for you. You're compensating for being a bad third down team by converting so many fourth downs. And maybe that's a dangerous way to live, and it's going to catch up to you. But until you're a good enough team to convert more of those third downs, this is what you need to do to win.
I think at the time a lot of people thought the NC State game was changed and lost because you went for it on fourth down. And there was because there was the analytics talk after that. I think Sam Kahn wrote the article about Joey Lytics soon after that, maybe after the Texas game. But I think we look back at that NC State game and say, well, you lost because of that, and then you won the Texas game because of it. I think a lot of people would look at that early fourth quarter, go for it on fourth down that ended up putting Kansas State up 2 possessions. You look at that one as a loss. But then West Virginia, you get the big lead and put them down. Who knows what that game is like if you punt on the first drive?
Right.
That's how momentum works. Instead, it's it's like what Texas did to Texas Tech last year. Their first 2 drives have a lot of fourth down conversions in them, and you're beat. They beat you in the first quarter. I think you beat West Virginia in the first quarter.
It was nice.
It didn't stretch out till the second half, but
it was nice to enjoy the final 45 minutes to an hour of that game and knowing we cannot lose this game.
I just wish more people were there to enjoy it in the fourth quarter.
Me too. That's a fair criticism.
I guess that's my other low of the weekend. You look at the bottom bowl of the east side. Who's generally there? The whole north end zone was empty over there on the curve.
Yeah.
There's maybe 2 rows that were full.
Let's revisit some props and our Big 12 picks from this last week, and then take a look at opening lines and Discord mailbag. Before we do that, shout out to our friends at Rahino Barbecue. At Rahino BBQ on socials, you should definitely give them a follow there. Keep up with what they're cooking up. They've always got new menu items, which is what I love. You can go for the old reliable ribs, brisket, but they've also got like different sandwiches and kind of specials like that. They're fun to see. Of course, they're located out in Olton, but they've also got the mobile food truck going all over West Texas, so follow them to see where they're headed. Maybe they're coming to your town next. And we always get the question, hey, I'm coming in for the game. Haven't been back in a few years. Where should I eat? My answer is always, you should go find wherever Rahino Barbecue is and check them out. They will not disappoint. Okay, so the prop bets that I gave you ahead of the West Virginia game, who would have more yards passing, West Virginia or Tech? You said Tech in like a nanosecond. And I said, well, what about Tech minus 50? And you and I both said, yeah, I think I'd still take Tech. And those both cashed.
Yeah, I nailed that one.
Would you take 3, yes or no?
I think we both said no.
Yeah, I think I was in believe it when I'll see it mode.
Yeah.
And you took 4.
You took 4. Because I think you even said you doubled down and said we have, 2 more than them, or 1 more. Because I always thought
that was the last one. Will you win the turnover battle by more than 1? Yes or no? And I think we both said I think you'll win it by 1.
Yeah, you won it by 4.
Going back, not to put too fine a point on it, when I said you were this close to getting a 50 burger and take 3 in the same game, that has to be. Look, you've won some games, you've lost some games this season. But to get that close to what your whole identity is as a program, I think it's huge for the locker room. I don't think it's just a win. Like, they won this game, like you said, Rob, exactly how this staff wants to win football games. And that's got to enhance the belief in the building, in the locker room, going into Baylor and beyond. Like they said, hey, guys, this is what we coach you for all year. You just put it out on the field against a Power 5 team. Let's do it again in 7 days. I think there's a lot to be said for that.
It is a very dangerous thing for a team to get confidence. Cliff always called it the killer instinct. We're looking for the killer instinct. No, you're looking for confidence, Cliff. Confidence. Cliff had it. The offense had it. The Matt Wells era, you just never saw it. Or you saw it game to game, but not for a season. Joey is confident. And I think it just rubs off. And when you win a game like that, look, I was confident before. Baylor, I really like this stretch of schedule you're on. I mean, I think 4-2 is likely at this point. To me.
Counting this last one.
Right. Yeah, because you have 5 left. So I think 3-2 now is likely. But I don't know. I'm gonna reserve what I want to say until after the Baylor game. Okay. Because if you come out and have another brand game against Baylor, who I think you're better than, I think you're ahead of schedule.
I think Baylor might be the biggest toss-up game left on your schedule. The one where, like, if you win it, I'll feel really good. If you lose, I'll feel like, man, I wish we would have won that one. And I think you're getting them at the perfect time because I think there's something to what you just said. You're pretty healthy coming off the bye. You're pretty well rested. You should have momentum, confidence, belief. If I'm Baylor, I do not want to show up in Lubbock for a night game to play this team. And I don't want to spoil our preview episode. I think you and I are probably going to be on the same page there unless there's some injury news or whatever coming up. But how did your picks go around the Big 12 on Saturday?
Okay. I mean, I Kansas opponent in the over. That one squeaked in. I thought Kansas was going to cover late. Did they hit the over? I actually don't know that they hit the over.
I don't know if they went over, but Baylor covered for sure.
Baylor covered. I thought Oklahoma State would cover, so I got that one. Kind of surprised they won, but that game is huge for both Texas and Oklahoma State. I thought Oklahoma State could have afforded a loss and still been in the picture. Texas is out now. And we talked about it last night. They're not out mathematically. They certainly could win out and have 2 Big 12 losses, and Texas Tech could win out and have 2 Big 12 losses. TCU could end up with 2 Big 12 losses. Kansas State could end up with 2 Big 12 losses. There's just a lot of math there that you're having to figure out.
Texas isn't going to finish with 2 losses. They have Baylor, TCU, Kansas State.
Oh, I agree. Just
all
mathematically,
left.
Yeah.
And Kansas, I mean, for that matter.
In Lawrence. Does Kansas sell out another game?
No.
I was awful otherwise. Kansas State plus 3.5. Nope. I picked, not in the conference, but Mississippi State plus 21.5. I was like, that's too much points against Mike Leach. Man. Yeah, I hit Texas Tech. That's pretty much all I hit. Texas Tech and then Kansas.
See, that was my biggest miss. I actually loaded several units on the over, which didn't hit. West Virginia plus 6 didn't hit. West Virginia money line as an emotional hedge didn't hit. Besides that, the only other one I lost was Louisiana Tech money line. Sonny Cumbie just can't break through this year. They had a lead. They were 2.5-point dogs, which I bet on them to cover, and they picked them to cover, and they did. Had Buffalo plus 7.5. Took Clemson live plus 1.5 emotional hedge because I wanted Syracuse to win that game so badly. Hate that they lost it.
I'm not going to read the rest of my picks, but I was, minus 7 units yesterday.
Oof. Well, hey, we're due next weekend.
I doubled down on Ole Miss. I had the money line and I think a lot of it. And
I had that thought strategy on LSU when they were hosting Tennessee. I was like, why are they home dogs? Yeah, as good as Tennessee is. And so this week when I saw their home dogs, I was like, well, fool me once. Anyway, I got the Baylor pick right. Had Liberty plus 7. They housed BYU. That loss, by the way, the Baylor loss to BYU, at the beginning of the year, you think, okay, they got beat by a really good team on the road. Now you're like, they lost to what might be a bowl team. Like BYU's 4-4.
Yeah. I'd have to look at their schedule. I'm sure they'll make a bowl.
Yeah, they'll go 6-6.
Yeah.
Probably. But at the time, we thought that was like a top 10, top 15 loss, and it is not that.
No.
Had Oklahoma State plus 6.5. Had TCU over K-State. Dude, this is one of those bets you hate to win. took TCU live plus 575 when it was 28-10. I was like, please, no. Like, I'll take this L on this bet. Of course, wanted Kansas State to win that game, and they didn't, and that stinks. But yeah, good week. 12-4, 54% ROI plus 10.6 units. If the listeners want to take a peek at our picks, they're all public on the Action app. Not going to like bore you with them every week on Twitter. Just follow us there, and that's where you can look at the spreads and totals for the games yourselves. That's where we make our picks.
Hashtag Fade Kyle on the chat.
At your own risk.
Fade Rob, more like.
Do people love losing money or something?
Apparently he does.
Okay.
Yeah. I wonder if he typed that in a Kermit voice.
I'm here.
Hey, that's pretty good.
Hey, by the way,
what is TCU doing?
Before I answer that, I just want to say how much fun I had with so many of the parlay picadors this weekend.
Fun.
Some of them got into town Friday night. We went to dinner.
I missed that.
Tailgated with some. Went to the game with some. The after party was mostly good besides the K-State TCU result. But, man, just a great bunch of people. So much fun to, like, share that camaraderie with other Red Raider fans. And it just beats watching the game alone on your couch, like when you're on the road or something like that. So I had a blast. Shout out to those guys.
Yeah, and if somebody wanted to get into that community, how would they do that?
Patreon.com/GamblingGauchos. $5 a month. Gets you access to some exclusive interviews with some great Red Raiders. Access to our Discord server, which is hop in during game day, I'm told. I can't access it once I'm at the stadium. So I kind of miss the meltdowns that go on in there. But
no meltdowns this week.
There's memes, there's food recs, there's TV show recs. It's a fun Discord community. It's grown a lot during football season, which has been cool to see. So yeah, that's how you can join us in that community. Portion of all the proceeds go to the Matador Club. Okay, what annoys you about TCU?
No, what are they doing? Okay, so I've been complimentary of their social media game lately, but the winning videos they're doing. What 15-year-old is putting these together? Am I too old?
Yeah, I think they're just targeting the next generation.
What does it mean?
I don't know. I don't understand it.
Did you see this one?
Yeah.
It was a bunch of like close-up selfies of the team. I guess the team.
Yeah.
Just like aerial vision of their nose.
Yeah, it's not my cup of tea, but it's not
like weird frog pictures in the middle.
It's not for me.
One of them was a green bodybuilder with Kermit's face on it.
Yeah. I guess it's like, do recruits or prospective students like that, or current college students? I don't know. I'm too old. Obviously.
I liked weird things. I still do.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No, but that is just over the line. If they did that and Raider Red's head was on a bodybuilder that was just red, I'd be like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing? Stop. Grow up.
Okay, if we beat them, do you want us to respond in the style that they would make a video? That'd be kind of fun.
With all our picadors, yeah.
Yeah.
We just need to get a bunch of
No, do you want the Texas
pictures.
Tech creative team to
I
put out
thought
a
you meant
video
the Gauchos.
like as a jab at TCU's creative
for
team?
sure. And then in the tweet, put Texas Tech versus TCU.mp3 or whatever they do.
Yeah.
This is like that's
That'd be
the
kinda
thing
funny.
they do. Oh, it would be electric. Another thing I talked to a Texas Tech person about. You know who I'm talking about. In the press box, we're just kind of chit-chatting. And he mentioned, let me think of a way to say this. He mentioned a reservation of what would happen if TCU took a shot coming up for that game on social media. That he thought it could escalate on social media, which to me, please, I love all that stuff. All right, Discord mailbag.
Yeah, you know my stance on it, which is that they started it, not their fans.
Right.
Their coach, their athletic director, people who draw a paycheck from TCU,
right,
use their large public platform to try to clown on us. So if we respond, so be it.
It's well noted that you don't talk trash on Twitter.
I've never done that before.
Ever.
Okay, Discord mailbag, sponsored by our friends over at Diversified Lenders, diversifiedlenders.com. If you want to know what they do, you can go to their website or listen to our episode that we did with Cole Roberts and BJ Simmons, former teammates from the early Leach days. That was a lot of fun.
That was a lot of fun.
essentially they help your business get the cash it needs now. Okay, Discord mailbag. Buddy. Let's see where it starts. Start bench cut, McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's.
I would start Wendy's, bench McDonald's, and cut Burger King. I like Burger King a lot, actually. I prefer it to McDonald's, but they're hit or miss in Lubbock. And I only like Burger King because I only go there like once a year. I think I like, it's like, oh, I want Burger King.
I'm cutting Burger King as well. Pretty on the fence with McDonald's and Wendy's. I think they both have pretty good variety for a fast food chain.
Yeah.
I'd probably start McDonald's.
Nuggets are better at Wendy's.
I could agree with that. Yeah. Spicy nugs.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
This one's a little bit mean-spirited.
I would actually start Jack in the Box, by the way.
Yeah, I wish we had Jack in the Box.
Oh, my God. Those tacos.
Sourdough melt.
Oh, man. Have you ever had the mini tacos?
No.
It's just a whole box of the tacos, but they're small. That's hence the mini.
Where's Donovan transferring to next year?
Yeah, you know.
A little bit cold-blooded. Why were you...
I think that Donovan could stay. Now, I think you only have two, and I think Barron will be the starter. So read into that how you will, but I'm not gonna talk about that today and where he would be. I would say that Donovan could find an offense he would be good in at a lot of places.
Yeah, I think in the right system, he's a Power 5 caliber starter for sure.
Look at Bo Nix. Bo Nix was in an awful system at Auburn, and it did not show his stuff. Transfers to Oregon and is just putting it on UCLA last night.
I've talked about this before with the basketball transfers because there have been so many. I don't really sympathize with either fan.
No.
The first fan who's like, we still love you anyway. You're a Red Raider for life. I'm rooting for whatever team you're transferred to next year. I'm usually like, no. Like, you don't want to be here anymore. I guess good luck at your next stop, but I'm not rooting for Fresno State or wherever you're going, you know. But I'm also not the, like, I can't wait to boo you when you come back. You're a traitor. How dare you? Because, like, if you're looking for a better opportunity, that's the way the world is now. But if Donovan Smith went to, just making this up, Oregon State, I would be a Beavers fan. And I would actively follow them and pull for him. Because he has meant so much to this program. Going back to last year when he helped get you bowl eligible, get a bowl win. This year when just grinded out some wins against Houston and Texas. He would be one that I actually like have an interest in following after leaving Texas Tech. I hope he stays, but I wouldn't blame him for seeking an opportunity if he's not going to be the starter here.
He's technically a West Texas kid. Played high school football in West Texas, even though he didn't put it on his helmet this year.
They're all West Texas kids,
which I don't love. I do have one just confession.
Okay,
I'm already tired of the basketball transfers and that discussion.
It's a lot.
They played each other in a scrimmage, and it was just all over. It's just like, I mean, it's a little bit rent free. To be honest.
I'm not gonna again. I don't hate TJ Shannon.
No, it's gone. They're done.
But I'm not following Illinois this year. I'm gonna follow Kansas because they're in the conference.
If I see an Illinois box score, I'll look for TJ's name. Yeah, and if it's on,
if they're on in the tournament,
okay,
of course,
I'll watch them.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna hate watch Kevin McCullough for every 2-point game he has. And it will probably happen, but
people will do that. Yeah.
But it's gonna be brutal. It's gonna be brutal. Like Jeff Goodman had a tweet. It was like, Illinois and Kansas had a scrimmage, and my well-placed spies said
this is how Jeff Goodman talks now.
Yeah, Kevin McCullough and Terrence Shannon were the two best players, both gone from Texas Tech. It's like, okay, Jeff. He's just looking for some of that sweet engagement from our Red Raiders.
Yeah.
Because we are engagement machines.
We gave it to him. If Shuck is healthy next week.
Not we, the Gauchos, the Red Raiders.
Well, we did back in the.
I know, but I wasn't just saying that we were in. It just sounded cocky. I meant the Texas Tech fan base.
Okay. If Shuck is healthy next week, who gets the start, Shuck or Morton?
This is the last time I'm saying it. Baron Morton is QB1. There's no decision. Joey McGuire tomorrow is going to say, hey, we had all three quarterbacks. Tyler Shuck is cleared. All three are going to play this week. But what he means to say is Baron Morton is the freaking quarterback at Texas Tech, and we're not having the discussion anymore.
I'll go with Donovan.
Couldn't even get that out.
What time are y'all going live? Asked and answered. We are live right now. What's this new idea from West Virginia fans that they think they're above losing to a, quote, program like Texas Tech? I didn't see those sentiments. When I was hanging out with West Virginia fans at the tailgate before the game, they were actually talking like in a vacuum, they view Texas Tech as the better. This is just one fan that I'm talking to. Because he was like, yeah, Neil Brown's done a pretty good job recruiting. I mean, you're not going to recruit as well as you do at a place like Texas Tech. I was like, oh, like you think we have a recruiting advantage over West Virginia? That's kind of surprising to me.
Well, but I mean, you go back to what we talked about on the preview episode with their fan base thinking they're rivals with Penn State and Notre Dame. There is a lot of that, and I saw it afterwards. One guy that covers West Virginia, he saw it so much in the West Virginia fan base that he tweeted, "Can we stop saying that we lost to a high school coach? Joey McGuire knows what he's doing." So there was a lot of, I can't believe we lost to a high school coach, that kind of stuff. By the way, West Virginia, in the last 4, Texas Tech is 4-0 against your sorry program. And Neil Brown is the worst coach in the Big 12. Wake up.
They know that. They hate him.
They didn't before the season.
Well, they hate him now.
Well, good. And he needs to be fired. Well, I don't need
the
to
high
be
school
fired.
coach thing is so
keep
dumb for so many reasons. He was an associate head coach at Baylor for 4 seasons.
Yeah.
So give me a break. It's funny, too, because Longhorns fans did that all offseason. Like, that's so cute. They hired a high school coach. Think they're going to win. And then we beat them. Then they got mad at the high school coach's post-game speech that it's lived rent-free in their minds for a month since then.
Yeah.
Love that. Power rank 5-star quarterback bust over the last 5 years. I would need a list. I mean, I don't know. I guess they're getting at JT Daniels here.
Yeah.
And a guy who goes to 3 different schools didn't quite pan out if you were a 5-star prospect coming out of high school.
Tate Martell, was he 5 stars?
Probably.
That'd be my top 2.
I mean, JT Daniels is like a serviceable starter. He's not a bad player. Like Tate Martell couldn't get on the field as a quarterback at a Power 5 school. JT Daniel was the starter at USC, starter at Georgia, starter at West Virginia.
This says Jeff Driscoll. I'm just giving you a few names.
He's not last 5 years.
John Brantley, Russell Shepard, Jeff Driscoll. Yeah, he played within the last 5 years.
No, he
at
didn't.
Florida.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did.
No, he was like Tebow's successor. That's like 10 years ago.
No.
Yes.
Garrett Gilbert, Dane Christ.
Dude, these guys are not in the last 5 years.
This just says the last decade.
Okay, a decade is 10 years from.
I'm just saying what Google gives me, man.
I know. I'm saying
we moved on from the Discord mailbag. I just was giving you some names.
Okay.
All right, we can move on.
I want to list from the last 5 years, but I think he's trying to clown JT Daniels.
Oh, he was, yeah, for sure.
Are we on a closing course for 7-5 Tech versus 7-5 A&M in Houston? Now, Rob, you think we could finish the regular season better than 7-5, but if it guaranteed you A&M in the bowl game, would you take 7-5 right now, or would you roll the dice with a different finishing record and a different bowl opponent?
Roll the dice.
You don't want to play A&M in the bowl game at 7-5?
No, I think you can go 8-4. I'd rather be 8-4.
All right.
And no, I don't really care about playing A&M
I respect it.
because A&M. That's not going to happen.
That's the next.
It's just not going to happen.
The next message in the Discord is that A&M isn't making a bowl game, which they're on the fence.
That's not even what I was saying.
I know.
If you are set up and it's perfectly aligned for you and A&M to play in a bowl game, A&M will drop down a bowl level. Or the SEC will match you up with LSU, who was like number 2 in the country 2 weeks ago, and you're going to have to play LSU instead because A&M does not want to play Texas Tech. It's happened, and it will keep happening.
Do y'all think that Patrick Mahomes' style of play hurts his team?
No.
It didn't hurt him when they won a Super Bowl.
It didn't hurt him when they just kicked the 49ers' ass.
Like, what could he really feasibly do to improve his team's outcome over the last 4 years as a starter?
It hurt Texas Tech a little bit, but he had to do that at Texas Tech because the defense was so bad.
Yeah. I mean, his years as a starter, lost an OT of the AFC
Style of
title
play.
game, won the Super Bowl, lost in the Super Bowl, lost in overtime of the AFC Championship game.
He's been a starter since 2018, and he's never not played in the AFC Championship.
He's never not gone past the end of regulation in the AFC Championship game. So no, it's hard to gripe there.
He's the best they have like the most wins in the last 5 years. Like hurts his team. What does that even mean?
I don't know. Chase is asking, do our Jayhawks still have a path to 6-6? Yeah, the path is there. Win one. I mean, they're right there on the doorstep, but they have a bye They host Oklahoma State. They come to Texas Tech. They host Texas, and then they go to Kansas State. They'll be dogs in all 4.
No,
I think
they're not going to win another one.
I think their 2 home games are arguably against the 2 best teams that they'll play. I don't think Kansas State wants to host a Jayhawks squad fighting for bowl eligibility on the final weekend of the season. But no, I mean, unless you slip up against Kansas, I think you're their most likely win remaining. And I wouldn't predict that if that game were this coming weekend.
Is 2015 5 years ago or longer?
No, that would be 7.
Okay. It's very close. Not 10, though.
Jeff Driscoll, I'm pretty sure, was Tim Tebow's successor.
No, he wasn't. Tim Tebow left in 08. Jeff Driscoll started in 11.
No. Tim Tebow won the Heisman as a sophomore in 08. He was there in
Played
09
2 more
and
times?
2010.
No way.
I thought Jeff Driscoll took over in
They won in 07?
maybe 12. Maybe Driscoll started in
No, it was
12.
in 2011. He played in 2011,
Okay, yeah.
but he didn't start till 2012.
You were right,
Who
Kyle.
am
I was
thinking of?
wrong.
I was thinking of Kyle Trask.
Yeah. He was like
That's what I was
He was
thinking
like
of.
the COVID year.
That's what
Okay.
That's what I was thinking of. So technically I wasn't wrong, but because I was thinking of a different guy.
That is some elite Rob Fiscating. I was so wrong that I actually wasn't wrong because that wasn't even the guy I was thinking of. But
You're
yeah,
right, Kyle. I'm sorry.
I think Kansas's most likely outcome is 6-6 in terms of like single result outcomes. I think 6-6 is probably most likely, but I would say 5-7 is more likely than 7-5. Would you agree with that?
Yes. Oh yeah. I mean, their last 4 is a gauntlet.
I mean, we were saying they could finish 0-7 and they're 0-3. They're almost halfway there.
Yeah, and I'm glad you finally came around on that because I had thought it since week 2.
I mean, I wanted to play it up. It was a fun
You did
storyline.
You did have fun, but I could tell you were,
When they hosted Iowa State and won 14-11, I was like, okay, this isn't.
Well, you said it after the Duke game
Yeah.
because
Well, and Duke looks pretty good under Mike Elko, honestly. I mean,
do.
they don't have talent, but they're what, 5-3 maybe ish.
But we talked about it, and you couldn't put away a Duke team at home. You won by a possession. Kansas
Yeah.
didn't send a lot of vague you today.
Because of a bye week, Tech is 4-3 with 5 games remaining. What are the realistic expectations for this season? We've kind of touched on that. Look, I still want to see you win out at home. I think you start there and then roll the dice on the road games.
7-5 is realistic.
You have 3 more home games: Baylor, Kansas, and OU.
If you finish at 6-6, I would be mildly disappointed. But both of those is no. You got to go 7-5. That's the realistic, because that's a winning record in Big 12 play. 5-4.
Yeah, that's a huge milestone.
You've not done that since you've not had a winning record in the Big 12 since 2009,
That's right. That'd be huge.
which I think was still 8 conference games.
And you can get there simply by holding serve at home. You don't even have to win in Fort Worth or Ames, which I would love to do, either or.
Can I be just coming off a high Texas Tech fan?
Yes.
Realistically, you could go 8-4, and I don't think that's crazy.
I think so. Especially if you win. This is your biggest toss-up game, like I've said. This and or Ames, I kind of view them both as pretty coin flip type games.
Yeah, and I just, if you lose to TCU, that's the one you
On
lose.
the road against maybe the best team in the conference, you kind of take that L.
We kind of had a conversation about the opening lines. Did we do that yet?
No, not yet.
Well, let's.
Okay, the last mailbag. Over under total losses in the Big 12 championship game, 4.5, like between the two teams playing in the.
Under. I think they'll both have 2.
Yeah.
If anything, it
I
might
think
be
it'll be
1 and
3 or
2.
4.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So opening lines on Gauchos After Dark. I think we're pretty close on our predictions.
Yep.
I'll take a gander at where they actually opened according to Circa. We'll start with Tech Baylor. You and I think, both pegged that as a pick 'em. Maybe you said Tech -1, but very close there.
Yeah.
And that one opened actually Baylor -1 at Circa.
At Circa, but nowhere else.
And I tweeted it'll flip before
Yeah.
kickoff.
Well, and the consensus is already +2.5 for Baylor.
Okay.
And I said last week, I guess before the West Virginia game, that I thought you would be favored in all of your home games remaining. And you had some pushback on Baylor. But the FPI actually has flipped. Did you see the FPI today?
It's almost exactly 50-50, but slight for Tech.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's why Vegas is, and I'm not saying Vegas only goes by FPI, but
It's usually pretty in line.
yeah.
And the total 61.5. I don't have a thought on that at the open. I'll kind of see how that trends and kind of see where I land in the middle of the week.
I mean, I like the over.
This one's interesting, and this is another one that has varied by book. Oklahoma State -2 at Kansas State. This is the Big 12 game of the week because this is like the winner of this game feels like they're in the catbird seat to reach Arlington, and it'd be really tough for the loser.
Well, and it's
But other places have it like Kansas State -1. So this is another one really close to just a coin flip depending on where you're looking at it, and maybe it'll move strong one way or the other. I think you and I both predicted like Oklahoma State -2.5 or 3, so we were pretty close on that.
Yeah, and I'll need to know Adrian Martinez and Will Howard's health
Yeah,
before I even
And Spencer
think about
Sanders,
that one.
for that matter,
Yeah.
because he's been a little bit of a question mark both of the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, and then did you see they threw him the ball?
Weird.
Is he hurt or not?
I don't know.
I mean, they split him out and threw the ball to him.
That's bizarre.
Did you see Lamar Jackson's running back play today?
No, I didn't see any of that game.
Mark Andrews lined up at quarterback under center, and they ran a sweep with Lamar Jackson.
Okay. All right. TCU opened a full touchdown and extra point favorite at West Virginia. I have some serious reservations about it. I said so on GAD. I thought 4 or 5.
I thought it'd be a touchdown.
Or 5 or 6. I thought it'd be between 4 and 7. And I said if it's a full touchdown, I'd probably strike at the open.
Yeah.
Dude, I know we kind of like scoff at body clock and all this. To go from Fort Worth to Morgantown to play an 11 a.m. Eastern time, or I guess it's noon Eastern time, but 11 a.m. Central, it's tough. Baylor has never won in Morgantown. It's tough for TCU Baylor Tech to go to Ames and Morgantown.
At 11 a.m., yeah.
I could see a sleepy start. West Virginia, I'm curious how they respond because they could be totally defeated after this loss, or they could be fighting for their lives. I think the TCU defense is a little bit suspect, and this could be a high-scoring, close game. I'm not predicting an upset, at least not yet. But I think West Virginia could give them trouble, and if I get a full 7, I'm pretty tempted at that.
I will be interested. Oh, you're going to love this. Texas Tech football has blacked out their Twitter profile.
Blackout mode.
But like their profile picture is black.
Is it just a solid black circle?
No, it's
It's like a black double T.
gray double T on a black background and a black and white cover photo.
Okay.
So if you want a black profile picture, ask Kyle.
I'm going to go ahead and black ours out because I guess we're doing this. Hey, shout out to them.
Yeah, it's a Fear the Dark hype video 8 minutes ago, and then it says it's 3 black dots, black, black, black.
Shout out to them for doing it a week out instead
Finally.
of letting this link and everybody going, is it a whiteout? Are we
Yeah.
doing a blackout? What
Yeah.
color do we wear? And then on Wednesday afternoon, be like, now we can hype it up all week.
You're going to beat Baylor by 30. My God. I mean, it's just going to be...
The other one, I went out on a limb. I thought Iowa State would be favored against OU, and I should have factored in that the analytics I was looking at accounted for all the snaps Oklahoma played without Dylan Gabriel. So I should have had that one right. I said Iowa State -2. It's Oklahoma -1, but pretty close. Look, you have one. Maybe the best team and worst team are playing each other. That's a touchdown spread. The other 3 games all opened within a field goal in one direction or the other. So there's a good slate of football coming up next weekend.
Absolutely.
And that's just what this conference is, which I love.
Will you explain to me why in your uniform rankings, 2 things? First thing, what was so good about the orange helmet to go orange, orange, orange is number 2? I have no qualms with the West Virginia helmet, the West Virginia uniform being number 1.
I would have appreciated it more had you approached me a little more open-ended instead of asking me why I valued the monochrome scheme so much, because that's not why that uniform was ranked.
No, I said, how good was the helmet for you to ignore the monochrome? That's what I meant to say.
I thought the helmet was really good.
Isn't that why?
The throwback, like bucking Bronco type cowboy logo, that's what put it over the top. I thought it was a pretty clean look. But I usually don't like monochrome.
I would have much preferred a black helmet with that logo.
Yeah, or white, orange, white.
Yeah.
With that same logo.
Second
I'm not
question.
saying it was perfect.
Second question.
Also, another thing to clarify before we go into more questions. Not a lot of separation on some of these. It's like number 2 and number 6 could both be really good uniforms.
Oh, I meant to say something like that earlier. When we were talking about the worst team in the Big 12, I think a lot of people have reservations because it's like, well, nobody's as bad as Kansas was 2 years ago or 3 years ago. But the worst is relative
Yeah.
because you could be a 75 out of 100 and be the worst team in a conference.
Your worst team this year, no matter who it winds up being, will be a fringe bowl team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like even Iowa State, if we think they're the worst and they finish with the worst record, they could be 5-7.
Yeah. And then, I mean, black, red, black is my favorite Texas Tech uniform, but you had them at 6, 5?
5, I think.
Is that you just don't like these uniforms? Is that it?
Yeah, they have a low ceiling because
Okay.
of just the striped designs, and I don't dislike black, red, black at all.
Where's the blackout going to be?
I don't know. I'll have to see how it looks.
I mean, it looks like it did last year. It's the same uniform.
Well, we'll see it under the lights and like how it contrasts with the other team's uniforms and what everybody else wears. Like Kansas State's uniform that was number 4 this week has been as bad as number 4, as good as number 1. It depends on what everybody else wears too.
Do you think Baylor will go all white?
I think they should.
If they have that yellow bullshit in
I don't
Lubbock.
like they need to go back to gold.
Their yellow sucks. I like West Virginia's yellow.
Their school colors are green and gold. They need to wear gold,
So bad.
not mustard.
And I love it on West Virginia. I love the navy and yellow. But green and gold is the scheme. Go back to it. You were great.
And that's a good pairing of colors, I think.
And it fits well with black if they want to do some
Yeah.
black. That's one of the
When
few
they have
that
it
I
right.
really like it.
Yeah.
All right, final thoughts?
Huge win. I could get used to beating Power 5 opponents not named Kansas by 38, especially at home. That's what I love, that you're 4-0 at home. You should have a great atmosphere next weekend when Baylor comes to town. And it feels like you're forming an identity and you're actually real and sincere about the culture and identity you're trying to build, and you're matching it on the field. So I love to see all that. I know we had our nitpicking section of things we want them to clean up, but really, all in all, have nothing but good things to say about where things are trending.
Absolutely. Love it's a blackout. Can't wait for Baylor. We'll talk to you on Wednesday